Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to be sensitive of everyone's time. My name is Faustine Chan. I'm the Business Innovation Manager for BBB serving the Pacific Southwest. I'm holding these webinars daily, so if you missed this webinar, any part of it, you can actually rewatch it on our website because it is being recorded. Just go to events.bbcommunity.org. You can also view other webinars on there as well that we've held in the past, and also sign up for upcoming ones because we have them every day. I want to make sure we have enough time to answer everyone's questions today and go over the materials today. We have two great speakers from the SBDC today. We have Marquise Jackson, who's a regional director and has held the position since 2015. He's a member of the network since 2012, and before that he's transformed startups at technology-focused SBDC Service Center in Inland Empire. Before his time in SBDC, he's also worked in market research, helping early-stage businesses figure out the best commercialize in their innovations. We also have Danny Fitzgerald, who is the Associate Regional Director. He oversees the program management for the annual SBA grants. That includes state grants, the City of San Diego grants, and other local matching funds. His responsibilities include the oversight of 5 SBDC centers, including program and fiscal compliance, contract development management, grant writing management, budget management, also fiscal reviews. So I'll go ahead and hand it to both of you gentlemen.
So thanks, Faustine, for that introduction. Like Faustine said, I'm Marquise, and there's Danny, and we're gonna jump straight into this presentation. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If you would please use the question and answer function or the chat box to put your questions in, and we'll answer them near the end of the webinar. You'll find out more often than not as we progress through the webinar, there'll be the answers to your questions will start to pop out. So just a little bit about Small Business Development Center and what we do. So the San Diego and Imperial Small Business Development Center, we're focused on San Diego and Imperial County here in Southern California, but the SBDC is a national program. So if you find yourself outside of Southern California, you definitely have access to the Small Business Development Center program. And what you can do is visit America's SBDC, I think it's a .org. And on the homepage, thanks to Danny, in the top left-hand corner, there's a button that you can click and put in your zip code, and you'll be able to find the SBDC that's nearest you. And so the SBDC in San Diego and Imperial is funded by the Small Business Administration. You've likely heard a lot of information about them in the news recently, and we'll get to the programs they're offering, and through California, through the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. So a couple things that we do very well is we offer expert level one-on-one business advising. We hire people to coach you who are either current or past business owners themselves, so they understand all the challenges you deal with, what it means to run a business, and what it means to succeed at business. This expertise is offered to you at no cost. So if your business does have a question, either around some of the resources available out here right now, you can definitely get in contact with the SBDC, or if you just have general business challenges that you're dealing with. We do a lot of webinars like this, especially recently with the COVID-19 situation. It has required us to do virtual training. Some of the things that we have expertise in, and this list is not totally inclusive, but it's just a sampling that give you guys good information. Finances, helping you, plan for your business continuity, any operations. We help with marketing, human resources, stuff like helping you understand your books. And here in San Diego, we have about 10 different service locations out from our 8 SBDC centers. But again, you can go to the Find My SBDC option to find the service center nearest you on our America's SBDC.org page. So the COVID-19, of course, we all know it's a national pandemic, a national disaster. In most cases, when SBA comes in with disaster assistance, it's usually catered to a regional impact, like a hurricane or a tornado, or some wildfires, here in Southern California. But this time we have a national disaster hanging out there. There's an impact in businesses of all types. And so the SBA has two products, hanging out there to help small businesses recover from this. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which we'll get into later, and the Paycheck Protection Program, which we'll also talk about in depth later. But there's also other stuff hanging out there. If you're in California, from the Employment Development Department, basically, helping you with payroll taxes. There's options where you can furlough staff and take advantage of paid leave. We all know the tax deadline has been moved to, or hopefully we all know, tax deadline has been moved to July 15th. Here in California, our FDCs and our iBank has a loan guarantee program where they're offering a 95% guarantee on loans. And then locally, all throughout the country, I know whether it's the cities, the counties, other micro lenders are really working on programs to help businesses, kind of recover very quickly. So immediate steps that you could do right now to really, help your business recover from the situation is, please go ahead and reach out to your creditors, right, and ask for a deferral. So the Federal Reserve Board, I know, has reached out to lenders, asking them, they send a memo asking them to work with the borrowers to make sure that, they defer and restructure loans. So you can call and they'll be willing and open to work with you on maybe deferring your loans or restructuring it so that you're able to, have less cash going out. We kind of talked about before the income tax deadline, but in California specifically, there's been a sales tax deferral that the governor announced, and like I mentioned before, a payroll tax deferral. And one important thing that we've also been guiding people on is go ahead and reach out to your landlord. Look, you've been great tenants, or you've been in business and you have a relationship there. Work with them to see if, if you're going to have a delay in your ability to cover your rent. Notify them, let them know, so that you can work together to rectify that situation, so that as we recover, you'll be in good standing with your landlord. And then one of the final pieces I'll say, and before Danny jumps in here, is your financials, why they're so important. So as you're looking to to benefit from some of the recovery programs, some of the things we're asking you to go ahead and do, or we're guiding people to do, is go ahead and collect your 2019 financials, right? And for prior years as well. And, your profit and loss statements, your sales history, your completed tax returns. You want to have this information available, so as you start to apply for different relief programs, they're going to ask, and that way you can get it to them. It makes the process move on very faster, or much faster than it normally would. Also, go ahead and get a hold on your 2020 financials, and to date. So start looking at your January, February, and March, financials by month. And the reason that we're asking to do this, you want to be able to document a cause and effect relationship between COVID-19 and your ability to pay expenses or service any debt, like pay any loan payments. And the reason we're saying that, as you start to apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, you want to really have a good idea of that relationship. It doesn't require you to have this information, and Danny will walk through this, but it's good to know as a business owner, so that you're able, when the conversation is brought to you, to say, hey, I lost revenues and I can't pay, for these expenses, and, COVID-19 is the reason. Here at the SBDC, we're also looking forward into the rest of this year. And so one of the things, we're helping guide people on is to project out the impact of COVID-19 on your business, not just for now, but, to the end of the year, so that we're able to best assess where you're going to be at. And then we can offer you some coaching and guidance to either mitigate or to access resources that'll help you mitigate the COVID-19 challenge. And then for the PPP, we'll go into detail a little bit more later the Paycheck Protection Program. But you want to go ahead and start gathering your monthly payroll expenses.
So I'm going to talk about the first of the two programs, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And then Marquise will go into some detail and we'll both be answering questions about about the Paycheck Protection Program. So the Economic Injury Disaster Loan is the core program that the SBA already had in statute prior to, as Marquise was talking about, when a regional disaster would happen, typically some sort of natural disaster. And this is that eligible entities are going to qualify for loans up to $2 million. The interest rate on this loan is 3.75% for small businesses. If it's a nonprofit that's applying, and nonprofits are eligible, it's 2.75%, and the loans are amortized up to 30 years. It's up to, because we've seen many loans that are approved that are 10, 15 years, especially some of the lower dollar amounts. It may even be down as 5 years. And the key is to know what these funds can be used for. The use of these funds is much, much broader than PPP, but still has some pretty heavy limits on it. It has to be used for working capital to be able to support your business. That way you can continue to stay in business, continue to operate during this time. Kind of like a bridge loan to be able to get through these ugly times. Then when things start coming back to normal, then you're able to then continue to operate. And so really what they're used to do is to pay like your fixed debts, your payroll, your accounts payable, other bills that haven't been paid. So that means, yes, you can pay your vendors. Yes, pay your general liability insurance, your commercial lines insurance. Yes, pay your equipment leases. Those types of things is what this really is to be able to do. And those things I just highlighted are what really help you maximize both the PPP program, which we're going to talk about, and then also be able to kind of, maximize the EIDL as well. So the loan terms on this, these are what the SBA is still putting out there, but we know that they're still pretty flexible on a lot of these. Bottom line is apply. Odds are they're not going to turn you down unless for a couple of basic things, and so they may require collateral for loans over $25,000. They will require collateral for loans over $500,000. But they're not going to decline a loan for lack of collateral, but they may ask you to do that. And so that's an important thing to do. Another things just to kind of think in terms of this is absolutely apply. There are no credit restrictions on this in terms of your credit score. The couple of the things that may kick you back for it that we have learned, number one is a bankruptcy in the last 3 years. And so if you have had a bankruptcy, still apply though, because if it gets declined, SBDCs, we're working with the SBA and ways in which you can actually still get approved. Number two, that's more problematic is if you have an existing tax lien. So that would be more problematic, and absolutely you would not be able to is if you've had basically if you or a business partner of yours defaulted on an SBA loan in the past. So those are some of the things that they are declining. Other than that, apply. You will get it. So don't think about it. My credit's not very good or anything like that. Absolutely apply. Yeah. So where do you apply and who is this loan from? This loan comes directly from the U.S. Treasury. So this comes from the government, not from a bank. That's the key distinction. EIDL, the government. PPP, which Marquise will talk about, comes from a bank. Important distinctions. This is where you apply. COVID-19relief.sba.gov. That's the link to apply. I'll show what it looks like here in a second. But there's it's very easy to be able to walk through that application. Something I'm going to emphasize, Marquise will re-emphasize, and we'll probably even emphasize a third time in the Q&A, is there is no cost to apply for any of these programs. We know that there's people out there that are emailing business owners left and right, texting them, if you pay me $2,500, you pay me $500, I'll make sure you get the federal disaster loans. There's no cost for you to apply. Small business development centers and even our sister programs like the Women's Business Center, we all provide services at no cost. If you need some particular assistance beyond what we have, odds are then you have a CPA or a bookkeeper that's an existing trusted advisor, someone you were paying, someone you had helping you before COVID hit. So make sure you are very, very cautious with that. There's absolutely no cost to apply whatsoever. Also, when you get, to continue down this road, when you get follow-up questions, because this application is super simple, make sure that any information you're providing, you verify that they are coming from the Small Business Administration. The number one and easiest way to do that is that their email will come from an sba.gov. So just like here on this presentation, that type of email address, because there's other people out there, of course, fishing for information, and you need to be careful with that. So wanted to just emphasize that point. And it's not just because we're with the Better Business Bureau. We say that's on all our webinars. So it's super important. So just kind of understanding some of that. And no matter what, there's no obligation to take the loan if it's offered. So again, open up your options, make sure you're applying for these types of programs. This is also the program that has the $10,000 that we've all heard about. That was part of the plussing up of the CARES Act. So what's important is that this is an up to $10,000. So it does not mean you're going to get $10,000. What the SBA has now told us is they're underwriting this based on the number of employees you declare on the application. So when you get to the application, on this here, the second page under business information, it will ask for an employee count. Bottom line is, no matter what, you have at least one employee. At least one employee. Every business has at least the owner who's working the business as an employee. Then any other business owners who take a draw or W-2 employees is who you include. All employees. So that's how you would make that particular calculation. So then that's based on that. So if you have 5 employees, what you'll want to do is you'd put 5 employees, and then your advance would be $5,000. So that's the information you would have. So I'm not going to walk through each of the pages, but I'm going to highlight a couple of key things you're going to want to make sure you have for this application. So make sure you're prepared. Also, if you go to our website, you click on our trainings, we have an on-demand webinar that walks you through this application. So it's very, very straightforward. Take that 30 minutes, walk through before you do it, because the other thing is beyond the other reasons that are getting declined, the actual, by far and away, the number one reason people are getting declined is because they did it inaccurately. So that means all the information needs to be 100% accurate. So when you go through the business information, what you're going to need here is, of course, you're going to need the business legal name, the tax ID number, the EIN, and there's 2 pieces of financial information is a must that Marquise was talking about. Your total sales for the period of February 1st, 2019 through January 31st, 2020, and your total cost of goods sold for that same time period. Cost of goods sold is basically the wholesale expense. I'm a printer. It's the expense I had on ink and paper. That would be my cost of goods sold. And so that would be an example for that. Then you would get to the business owner's information. This is actually where you also need to be super careful, because you need to put the information for every owner of the business, even if they own less than 20%. You have to have that. And included is their social security number, their email address, their cell phone, their location where they were born, and their citizenship. It's not a cause for denial if they're not U.S. citizens or anything like that, but you must declare that information. On additional information is where you check the box if you want the up to $10,000 advance. And there you would also put your bank account information, both the routing as well as the account numbers. That's the information you would put. Last but not least is you would have the summary. And again, go very, very carefully over the summary. Double check you didn't drop one of the numbers or change a number in the Social Security or your EIN. Make sure you have your name right, the name of the business right, the address right. All of that information is super important that it's 100% correct. So that's what's very, very critical for you to be able to do. Again, this is all found at covid19relief.sba.gov. Marquise.
So just to make the distinction one more time, me and Denny like to hammer stuff home. EIDL is SBA, direct from Treasury. So the Paycheck Protection Program, although a SBA program, it goes direct through lenders. So it isn't a direct program like the EIDL program. So to that point, because it's going through existing banks, one of our first pieces of advice for people looking to apply for the PPP is please reach out to your banker. And what you want to do is you want to ask your banker or the institution that you bank with if they're participating in the PPP program. And I'll tell you why. So a lot of institutions, because of just the sheer demand from businesses, a lot of institutions are giving preferential treatment and priority to their existing customers, and only those customers, as a matter of fact. So work with a bank that you already have a relationship, because there's a lot of cases where, you know, you'll be able to flow through their process even easier, as opposed to going with a lending institution that you don't have a relationship with. And so one thing I want to make sure folks understand about the SBA is, you know, they're really trying to help, you know, as many businesses as they can. So they're constantly onboarding lenders. So the link up above that you could see in the first bullet point, and we'll post this down below as well, basically lets you seek out and find lenders who are participating in the program. So if your lender isn't participating, you know, you can use this link to find ones that are. When it comes to eligibility, the PPP program is eligible for small businesses that meets the SBA definition, right? So there's less than 500 employees, and there are certain exceptions as far as revenues and industries. And there's a checker on the SBA's website, or nonprofit organizations, with this one thing being understood, that were in operation prior to February 15th of this year. And, right, so your existing small business or nonprofit in operation prior to February 15th, and you've paid employees or you've paid yourself as the owner of the business via an owner draw or a wage, right? And so you're also eligible for a PPP if you are sole prop or a independent contractor. And this is important, and likely there'll be some questions here. If your business has independent contractors, those contractors are not employees. You're not paying them a wage, and they'll have to apply for the PPP on their own, and you can't apply for independent contractors as your employees. And so this last point, you know, like I was saying before, they've initially rolled PPP out through lenders participating in the 7A program, but they're constantly expanding and trying to, you know, help meet the demand. So the SBA is doing a wonderful job at onboarding additional people to help with the program. So a couple more things about PPP is the application closes on June 30th of this year. So, you know, that window, while still a couple months off, is, you know, quickly approaching. You know, so make sure you go ahead and start to, if you haven't, go ahead and start to get those applications in. And the loan amounts can exceed $10 million. And so there's, you know, pretty good sized loan. And I believe the rate on that is 1%. So it's not bad. So the way loan amounts are calculated is they're going to take your average payroll. So you're going to look at your payroll from January 1 of 2019 through Jan 31, right, of 2020. So I think that's 13 months. And so they're going to look at your average payroll once you get to a monthly average, and they're going to multiply that by 2.5, and that could be your loan amount. So payroll that will be included in figuring out this average is fully loaded. So not only wages, but payroll taxes, any insurance, group health, the employer portion, or retirement. One thing to mention or note about the payroll as you calculate it. So any payroll in excess of $100,000 per employee is excluded. So you'll only be able to claim up to $8,333 in payroll costs per employee. So the good thing about the PPP is it's forgivable if you're able to meet certain requirements. So after you get approved for the PPP, which is 2.5%, 2.5 times your monthly payroll average, after you get access to that loan, if you basically use it, you know, for the 8 weeks after you get the funds to pay for payroll, rent, you know, mortgage, interest, utility costs, it will be forgiven as long as 75% of that loan amount is used for payroll. And then here's a link that, you know, has some information regarding the PPP. Like I was saying before, this constantly is changing as SBA tries to streamline the information so you can get the latest up-to-date information here. And one other thing to note is you can apply both for the PPP and EIDL, but you can't use them. You can't say, hey, I'm paying payroll with my EIDL advance or my ELDL amount, and I want to get paycheck protection program. So this is government program, so they don't want you to double dip. Next slide. All right, so just the information you need to have handy as you begin to start your application. So you want to get your payroll records, like I was saying before, Jan 1, 2019 to Jan 31, 2020, that's 13 months. So any wages you've paid, including commissions, cash tips, and your state portion of your payroll taxes. Siri's talking to me right now. You can't include your federal portion. Any payment for vacation, sick, family, medical leave, and your employer portion of group health and retirement plans. So this is fully loaded payroll. So you want to go ahead and collect that information. One thing to note that it can include compensation for self-employment, if or if you're a sole proprietor. So if you're taking an owner draw, you will be able to apply for the PPP program. And like I was mentioning before, independent contractors will have to apply for their own PPP. Couple exclusions that we want to point out to folks is if you have employees whose principal residence is outside of the U.S., they won't qualify to be included in the calculation. I'll give you an example. Here in San Diego, we're a binational region, and we have a lot of workers that come from Baja California, right in Mexico. So if that's their principal residence, they wouldn't be able, their wages wouldn't be able to be included in the calculation. And like I was mentioning before, no compensation in excess of $100,000 per year can be included. So now it's time for the application. But before that, I want to, give a quick warning. Like Danny said before, please be careful. There are a lot of scams and a lot of misinformation out there. Please only seek to put applications in with your banker or from a banker that's listed on the SBA lender finder for PPP participating institutions. We've heard of people submitting applications to fintech companies, and we know those fintech companies aren't approved. So please be careful who you give your information to. So we want to walk you through the PPP application really quickly. So it's a very straightforward application. Basically, you're going to go in and check your business structure, whether that be a sole prop or you're some type of corporation, S corp, C corp, LLC. You're going to make sure you include your EIN, Social Security number, or ITIN number. You definitely need that. And right here on the front page, it lets you know what your loan amount will be from the calculation. So you're going to take your average payroll. You're going to multiply that times 2.5 and blank. Plus, if you got an idle advance, that will be included in the calculation as well. And that gives you your loan amount. And like I was saying before, the purpose of this loan is to really pay payroll, and you can use 25% of it for rent payments or utilities. Next slide. So just walking further through the application, like Danny was saying earlier, one of the important things is all owners who have a 20% or more stake in the business will have to provide information, for your company to submit this application. So it'll be their name, their title, what percentage of ownership they have, their unique identifier like an EIN or Social Security number, and the address. And then basically after that, SBA ask that lenders provide certifications from the applicants, and basically it's asking you questions, having you state whether you've been recently, convicted of any criminal offenses, whether you're currently going through bankruptcy. It's just, questions like that, yes or no, that you'll have to fill out. And then one important thing, I think I'll touch on it on the next slide, is you're going to have to make a certification. So one very important part of this application is it's asking you to certify that you're not going around and putting in multiple PPP applications as part of clogging the system, and you're actually certifying the fact that you've only submitted one application. So my guidance would be to folks filling out these applications is to take these certifications serious. You are accessing government funds. You are the SBA is using this information to make loan decisions, and your lender is. So you want to make sure that all information you're providing is truthful, so that they're able to use that truthfulness to make lending decisions. And so I kind of talked about this already, but it's just additional, certifications that you'll have to initial on. So the SBDC is here to help. One of the important things is to know whether you're, if you're here in San Diego, Southern California, Imperial County, please request an SBDC advisor. All you have to do is, go to our website and, sdivsbdc.org, and you go there. There's a blue box on our website that says request counseling. Click on that box. It'll take you to a short application that we have to complete for our grant funding. When you hit that request, one of our team members will reach out to you and communicate with you our process moving forward and get you connected up, with an SBDC. Like Danny also mentioned before, we're partners with a lot of programs. We're also very close partnership with the Women's Business Center. So I believe, and I'm doing it from memory, the Women's Business Center is at san diego wbc.org. So please, and they're open for men as well. But the Women's Business Center is definitely here to help you. And then once you start to recover from this COVID situation, or you want to look at some outside capital, if your business is benefiting from COVID, we can also help you pursue, identify, and secure other capital for your business at no cost to you.
All right. Been answering some of the questions along, but there's one I think it's going to need a little show and tell. So it's a very good question, because on the page 1 of the PPP, the average payroll, kind of this box here, it is confusing. So we're going to give an example. So earlier I talked about how the $10,000 advance, the up to $10,000 advance, is calculated, and so so that's kind of based on the number of employees that you have. So let's assume that you have 5 employees. Just take that as an example, you included, and your average monthly payroll is $10,000. Again, just an assumption. So that would mean, so if you put 10,000 in here, times 2.5 takes that to $25,000. But because you have 5 employees, and let's say you've received your EIDL advance of $5,000, that would be the net of that advance, meaning that the loan amount would be $20,000. So that's what that means. So that's kind of how that calculation is. The total payroll times 2.5 less the advance you receive for the EIDL. And then of course you declare the number of employees. So that is a bit confusing. So that's why I like to use that example with nice round numbers. So think of it that way. So that's what you're going to have to declare in terms of it, because not only that, you're declaring here on number 4 if you've received that loan. So that's something that's important also, if you've received additional assistance that you would want to really be able to have. The next question is do all SBDCs provide the PPP assistance? Marquise, I'll let you answer that one.
Absolutely. So we're each SBDC really tries to respond to their local geography, but um, nationwide, one of our um, largest expertise is really helping businesses get access to capital. So you can go find your SBDC at the link that Danny shared. Reach out to them and let them know that you want assistance applying for PPP, and they'll help you if there's any, if you're having any trouble accessing your local SBDC. I'll share my email down in the chat. Just shoot me an email and I can connect you up with the responsible people.
And then the next question I'll answer, which is, what if I hired 3 people March 3rd, 2020, and only had 2 employees? You declare what you had as of February 15th. So that's what you're declaring here, as well as in the EIDL application. But for the forgivability portion, that no longer matters. What matters is the total amount you pay in payroll, because the intent of this loan is that you're paying people as employees so they're not on unemployment insurance. And so if you have additional people that you're paying, again, you're having 2.5 times your average payroll that was, say, in January to be able to pay. And so you do have those additional funds. And so that actually is a good thing in the eyes of this program. So that's not a bad thing at all, quite the opposite. It's a good thing. And it also ensures that you're more likely to spend all that money on payroll, which is what the federal government would prefer, and the forgivability rate is going to be much higher on payroll. So, well, that's all the questions we have in here. So in terms of that, again, we thank you. We've put some information out there. So again, to find your additional, oh wait, we've got submitted question from that Faustine's trying to put in. Anyway, I'll tell so does your credit score get affected? There is a hard pull on your credit. So like any hard pull on your credit, just as like when you go and apply for a car loan, there is a short-term impact on your credit, but it's not a significant impact. And it's certainly understood as you're applying for debt. Usually those hard pulls wipe off after about 90 days. So that is one of those things. Eveline's asking, who do I email for help on the loan? The best thing to do is to get with your SBDC. And again, I'll type that in there, americassbdc.org. And you go there and you can get some assistance on filling out the applications. Is there a website to check the status of the loan? The answer to that is no. Do I think there will be one soon? No. To kind of give this a summary, the simplified application process came out just over 2 weeks ago, and it was put together very, very quickly as part of the CARES Act. And there's, and they've received over 3 million applications for the EIDL. For PPP, that would be work with the lender that you applied for on that. So that's really where you would be able to have it. I see another next question here. Have you've seen that one on the work as a W-2 employee?
Mm-hmm.
I've got, so if we work as a W-2 employee, but also own a separate LLC, can our LLC apply for PPP even though we're still getting paid through our W-2 employer? If you're paying yourself through your LLC, it's not uncommon that you keep a W-2 wage and have your business. If your business is negatively impacted, let's say, for example, I'm a part-time employee, I'm an adjunct faculty somewhere, or I'm a substitute teacher, but then I also have my business. And so that might be an example of that. Absolutely, you can still apply under your LLC as long as you can show what's important. So when you're thinking of employer information, this bullet point here, you're applying for your own, but your compensation is money that you can say, so money that you can prove that you received from your business that would be considered taxable. And so that's what you would want to be able to do. So after that, my company works with freelancers. Can I still apply for the loans? Yes, as long as you're paying for yourself. So that's what you'd want to do for that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think we got a couple that popped up.
In the Q&A.
What is the web address for PPP? We can definitely,
There it is.
let me back up. So let me clearly explain this one. So the PPP is offered through lenders. So there is no one online portal. It's specific to lenders, but the SBA does have a link where you could find participating lenders. So Danny has the link up right now where you could actually see which lenders are participating in the program, and each lender will have their very own unique portal using the SBA's application.
And then we're a sole prop. Yeah, you want to take this one?
We are sole prop. Would my net income be considered my owner draw?
So it's short, yes. So it's your net income. So in other words, so assume you were completing your Schedule C on your taxes. What that net is, but you also have to show you paid yourself during the year. So it's twofold. That's the dollar amount, but it's also what you paid yourself. So for example, I was helping somebody who's a sole proprietor, and she paid herself. I said, how do you pay yourself? She says, every month I write myself a check out of my business account. And I said, fantastic. That's very demonstrable. That's like the perfect example. If you do a specific transfer from your business checking account to your personal account, be able to demonstrate that and show that very, very clearly on your bank statements. So that's the type of level you'd want to do. So it needs to be two things: that calculation, which is the net income, and that you did pay yourself and you use that for your living expenses. So that's what's important. You have to have both of those for that to be able to work. All right. Any more questions, Faustine?
I don't see anything else come in. Oh, look, we
Okay.
just had one just popped in.
All right. I do in-home childcare with my husband. This is our only source of income, so we still apply. But what if we don't pay ourselves? Well, if that's your only source of income, you must be paying yourself. So how do you transfer from your business account with your home childcare to your personal account to pay things like your groceries? That's what would be the question I would ask for that. So if you're paying for your home expenses through your business, then again, you're really going to want to kind of do that. That's why it's super important. We always, when you're setting up a business, you need to make sure you have your business checking account and your personal checking account. You still have to pay your living expenses, which are separate than your business.
And quick commercial, really quick, Avelina, if you're here in San Diego, the Women's Business Center, and with the partnership with SBDC, but the Women's Business Center has a really great childcare program, and they have some expertise there. They can help you, set it up in a way that's basically operating to a different standard. So I would definitely reach out to them and pick their brains on everything they know about childcare businesses.
Absolutely. All right, I think we got them all. Again, Faustine, thank you very much. We appreciate being able to come on and our partnership with the Better Business Bureau.
Yes, thank you so much to both Danny and Marquise for taking the time out of your busy day. I know both of you are very, very busy right now, and sharing all this useful information for all of our businesses. Once again, this webinar was recorded. It will be posted on events.bbcommunity.org. I know there are a couple people that have called in, so you can access this information online as well. We will also send out the slides if you do need them for the links that are clickable on it, so you can access those resources as well. But thank you everyone for attending. Please stay safe out there and have a great day.